Okay, hello, my name is Rachel. Thank you very much for welcoming us back this year to Penna. We're really happy to be here. Myself and my colleague Maura, who's here with me today, are really proud to represent such a fantastic team behind this great project. My background is that I'm a specialist paediatric physiotherapist. I split my time each week between my clinical work and my work with Me First. So today I'm going to give you an overview of what we do for those of you who don't know who we are or haven't heard of us. I'm going to give you an update on our success over the last 12 months since we were last here, and I'm going to give you a little glimpse into our future plans. Before we start, I'm going to have a little shameless plug. For those of you on Twitter, we are on hashtag #CYPMeFirst. Please tweet us a little message and say hello. Okay, so first of all, by way of introduction, I would like to explain first of all why we do what we do before I say who we are and what we do. So the CQC survey, inpatient survey done in 2014 showed that 43% of children and young people, or CYP, said that they were not involved in choices or decisions about their care. This is really important. And basically what it's showing is that there's a significant number of people that don't feel involved in decisions and choices about their own bodies. How would you feel if you went to see your GP or your dentist and you had no say? You had no involvement in choices or decisions. This has a huge impact on young people's health outcomes. This is a really big deal. Our own research backs this up. Although we know that we are good at some parts of communication, some aspects of the conversation, we know that we don't get it right all the time. And one young person gave a lovely example of this, of saying that the conversation in the room was so focused around the adults that they felt they could do cartwheels across the room and they wouldn't be noticed. So, at Me First, we are focused on making a better experience for children and young people. Good and bad conversations can have a lifelong effect on a young person's health beliefs, emotional well-being, their perception of self, and it can really shape how that individual interacts with professionals and the health and social care for the rest of their life. It's really vital that we speak to that person to get first-hand information about signs or symptoms so that we don't miss anything. And if we really improve how we communicate, we can help children and young people feel heard and understood. This can then reduce any fear, anxiety, or resistance. And then this in turn can reduce any conflict between anyone in the room, whether that's between the professionals, the parents, the families, the young person. And ultimately that can have a big improvement, a big effect on their treatment adherence and their health outcomes. In the long term, that can encourage health-seeking behaviour. So it's really important. So to give you a bit of background, we were funded by Health Education England, and this was to provide education, resources, support for professionals or workers in health and social care in communicating with children and young people. It was developed together with Great Ormond Street Hospital and Common Room, which is a consulting group for children and young people. And this was done in collaboration with a number of different partners, some of which are shown at the bottom of this slide. And also children and young people themselves have been involved right from the beginnings of this project. We're grounded in research so that we can show evidence of the impact we have on professionals and their ability to have better conversations, their ability to change their behaviours in a positive way, and then ultimately we've noticed that this experience is different with children and young people themselves so that they can notice the difference, and that's the whole idea really. So the development of this project is illustrated in the next slide. Don't worry too much about all the information here. Basically, each cell gives you an example of a team or a project that we've worked with. And then around that is showing our principles of making sure we integrate real lived experience from the children and young people, integrated with the experience and expertise from healthcare professionals, and making sure it's well aligned with the research that we found. Me First is for everyone that works in health and social care. It could be those who work primarily with adults, but come across children and young people in clinics, in A&E, or because they accompany the adults that they are seeing. It can be for those who are starting out in their new career, Equally, it can be for professionals who've been working with children and young people for years. We acknowledge that communicating with children and young people can be incredibly challenging, and that may be just because you've got a very small child who doesn't want to take their medication. It could be you've got a younger child who doesn't want to have a blood test or an injection for their diabetes, or it could be more complex, sensitive conversations around palliative care or safeguarding issues. So regardless of the level of complexity, regardless of the expertise of the practitioner, we're aiming to build on the existing skills that they have, provide really useful, practical tools and ideas of how to improve communicating with children and young people, and facilitate peer-to-peer learning. So we have multi-professionals attending our training and getting together with our communication champions and any networking that we do. So, how do we do this? So we have developed a number of different tools and strategies. These are a few examples, but I'm going to talk you through a few of these over the next few slides. So this is the homepage of our website. This can direct you to a wealth of information. It's all free to read, free to download, free to share. So I love this idea of agreed stealing and sharing. We also encourage people to upload your own ideas. So throughout your own practice, if there's anything particularly that you found really useful that you think others might benefit from, please get on our website and upload it or give us a shout. We would love to hear from you. And anything could be adapted as well. So sometimes you can look at the resources and think, oh, that's a really good idea. I'm not sure how it would work for me. You can steal it, adapt it for your own practice, and maybe share it back again. We've developed a communication model. This can be used for anything from a 5-minute conversation in a short appointment or a conversation within inpatient mental health, for example, that could happen over a number of months. It can be used for any situation, as I've described, any level of complexity. And it gives you a step-by-step guide to a conversation. It's not rocket science. It gives you really basic ideas of actual things to say and kind of what order to say them in. So we've got a beginning, a middle and an end. And at the top it's talking about, and if you can read these questions, it's from the young person's point of view. So that young person wants to know straight off, how do I know that you're going to listen to me? And that could be something as simple as just saying, hello, my name is. It's really important, as I'm sure you're all aware, that we introduce ourselves. And we can't really expect anyone to divulge any sensitive information if we haven't done the basics of a conversation like that. The middle of the conversation can happen in any order, but it's important to integrate explaining why we're there, because a lot of young people will be showing up. They're there because they've been told to. Interestingly, a paediatrician told me that it's also really good that they know why everyone's there, because sometimes they don't know, they're just on a list in a clinic. What are their choices? So healthcare professionals sometimes say to us they really struggle with this because it may be that young person has to have antibiotics or they have to have a certain form of treatment because that's the only way they're going to get better. But there is always a choice. It may be, how do they have that? Where do they have it? When they have it, who's with them? And the manner in which it's taken sometimes. It's also important to agree or to find out what is important for that young person. And it may be that you've got the most fantastic treatment plan and you're really on board with the parents. It feels like everyone knows what you're aiming towards and you're talking about reducing their pain. And actually the young person is putting up with their pain, they're fine, but all they really want to do is get back and play football. It's really important with all of those things that everyone is on the same page so that you're all working towards the same thing. And then towards the end of the conversation, it's about agreeing to a decision, and that means collaborating and making sure that everyone is involved in that decision, regardless of their age or their ability, and making sure that everyone has understood that as well, because often I think we can go away thinking, yeah, everyone understood that, but then they'll walk away and think, I had loads of questions, but I was too afraid to ask them. Or you think you've come to an agreement and then 5 minutes after they've walked out the door, think, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to bother. So trying to have an honest conversation around that is really important. And then what happens next? Making sure that, again, everyone is on the same page. So it's not rocket science, like I say, but equally it's not about teaching basic communication skills. This can also be used as a tool to reflect on a conversation. So if you've got loads of experience, you do this all day, every day. As we know from research, children and young people are telling us we're not getting it right all the time. So maybe it can be a useful tool to think, well, hang on a minute, I still don't really feel like I'm reaching this young person. can I use this to help me think, where is it not working, or where are we getting stuck? So moving on from the model, we also have a page on our website of top tips. These have been produced by children and young people themselves, as well as healthcare professionals. You can filter them according to various different things, so categories of the presentation of the young person, whether it's that they've got learning disabilities, communication impairments, visual impairments, ASD, diabetes, all sorts of diagnoses. You can use it to filter certain steps of the model, so if you've identified something you've got stuck on, you can use it for that. Age groups, professional groups, and the area of care, whether it's primary care or secondary care. We have a number of other things on our website as well. We try and upload a blog every month, so we've got interesting things either from within the team. Young people sometimes contribute blogs, or external people. We've got short films. We've got an excellent film on there that's giving the voice of children and young people who talk about their experience of healthcare, and a few variety of other things that I think I will come on to a little bit later. So that's given you a basic overview of where we're at and who we are. That was a whistle-stop tour. Now I want to focus on our achievements since last year. So being a finalist, and the emphasis on finalist, I think winning is great. But if you're here, it's really, you've achieved a lot. And it's been really interesting to hear some of the presentations earlier. Winning was a really big deal for us. Visits to our website and our engagement with staff increased dramatically over the last 12 months. We've really grown and developed from that in different ways. In turn, hopefully this has had a positive impact on how children and young people experience their care. And whilst there have been lots of factors to how we've grown, Penna undoubtedly has helped with this. And the endorsement that we've had from a group like Penna sends a really strong message. Generally, when we speak to people, we get asked 3 questions, and they tend to ask, does it work? How much is it? And who else says it's good? So those first 2 questions we can answer, no problem. But the third one, we're reliant on other people. And Penna's been brilliant at giving us credibility. I think it's also important to recognise the motivation that it's had for our team. We're a very small team. Most of us have various roles, so we have clinical work as well as the work we have on Me First, and it is really motivating to get that recognition. So in terms of our growth, we secured additional funding so that we're a bigger team, we've got more staff. The top tips that we had expanded to cover other things, so we now cover all ages and all abilities. This knock-on effect has helped us be nominated for some more awards, so for the Health Service Journal, Nursing Times, and the London Leadership Awards. We have had increasing demand for our one-day masterclasses, so we're doing more of them. We're getting further afield. So we've started in certain areas of London, but we've been asked to do bespoke days across London so that we go into an organisation to train up a greater number of staff. We're also coming up to, I was going to say the north, that's probably wrong, Birmingham, Manchester, going down to Bristol as well. Yep, I think I've covered that. Here are a few examples from our resource hub. So again, this is all free to share and download, and we've got more than 80 resources on this part of our website. I have to say I found this incredibly useful for my own clinical practice, and I'm just going to show off some of the things I've been doing in my own work. So the top left is what we call pants and tops. I don't know if anyone has come across that. Wonderful. I love talking about pants at work. I used it to help encourage discussion around exercise. So we talked about what was good about exercise, which is tops, and what's bad, which is pants. I made sure I got the one with fun in bold in the picture instead of maybe some of the more negative comments. This bullseye feedback form, I really encourage you to check that out on our website. We've got a blog about it, and it's free to download. It's a great way of getting instant feedback from a session, whereby ask the young person to score your session with things like how much did they feel listened to, were we really talking about what they wanted to talk about. Another example is the sorting task, whereby I got a young person to talk about their activities of daily living and sort them into things that they can do, things that they can't do, things that they want to focus on in treatment, and things that they're not really bothered about. With all of these tools, I went in with a certain aim and objective, which was really successful, but more so, it was the conversation that was generated by doing these things that was really eye-opening for me, and it really gave me a good insight into any of their anxieties, difficulties they were having, what they wanted to work towards. It was really enjoyable and inspiring. So as I have said, we are increasingly active on Twitter. So we post resources when we upload them onto the website. We also have a Twitter chat every couple of months. The next one, as a little plug again, is this coming Monday between 8 and 9 p.m. And we pose a few questions specifically around child and young person-centred communication. And that always generates some really interesting discussion. In terms of sustainability of the project, so we're in a period of transition whereby our funding is at the point of running out. So we're looking at how we can become self-funded. One of the things we've done is that we've secured accreditation from the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. So that's going to encourage more paediatricians to get on board with what we're doing. And then I'll talk through these over the next few slides. So a big thing for sustainability over the last 12 months is we've initiated our Train the Trainer programme, and this is enabling us to meet the increasing demand for our masterclasses and helps us increase our reach, but it's also much more cost effective for any organisations that want to train a larger volume of staff. With that, we're also doing some of our Train the Trainer programmes were specifically for pre-reg nursing, so that we really want to get out the message of Me First and child and young person-centred communication into the curriculum, so that we're really trying to create a culture of good communication. Communication champions, this is one of the most inspiring things, I think, of Me First that I have attended. We have a growing network of people who've attended our training and they want to do more. They want to be more involved. We meet every 4 months and we share ideas, we share best practice, we have sort of peer support in what we're trying to achieve, so we hear all sorts of ideas of other people and what they're doing to promote this, which is really exciting to hear. So, for example, Victoria de Blon, who's a paediatrician at the Royal Free in London, has gotten feedback from her ward saying that children and families found that the wards were really noisy at night. I'm sure that's not unheard of for most of us. And they created a project, No Speaking, Children Sleeping. So they put signs up and they outreach to staff that were coming onto the ward from non-paediatric areas that were having a big impact on people, and that's made a big difference. You get a badge as well if you're a communication champion. It's all very exciting. Okay, so what does the future hold? I've completely ignored my notes. I'll just carry on. Okay, so the future. We secured funding which enabled us to take part in a very similar project called Open Talk, and this is led by Kate Martin, who runs Common Room. It's a similar project in terms of encouraging child and young person-centred communication, but the focus is on shared decision-making, specifically in inpatient mental health and community CAMS, child and adolescent mental health. We are getting out there, as I explained. We're coming to Birmingham, Manchester and Bristol for our masterclasses, but the big news is for those of you who are expecting to see Joanna Reid or Kate Martin, our team leads, they send their apologies. They can't be here today because they're in the United States at the Beryl Institute Patient Experience Conference. So big up. We're all over Twitter about that. It's very, very exciting. In terms of research, we are aiming to do a larger impact study, which is going to look more closely at the impact of our training on the experience of children and young people. And we're currently have sort of internal negotiations about how we're going about that, but that's in the pipeline. And another project that we're working on is another communication model that's very similar to the model that you've seen earlier, but it's specifically around how to open up difficult conversations around safeguarding, specifically child sexual exploitation. Really important work. We're also trying to reach out more to parents and young people themselves to try and help educate them about how important or why it's important that we talk about child and young person-centred communication. And through our training, we talk about a triadic model of communication. So we make sure that everyone respects the voice of the parents or whichever family member is in the room, as well as the child and young person, and make sure that everyone is involved in giving that child and young person a voice. Okay, I think I'm almost done. Loads of ways to get involved. Basically, please get in touch. That's it.